Hello, it's near enough midnight here, and just got back to the hotel after the match and wanted to just do a little bit of a video to get it out while my thoughts on everything are still kind of fresh in general on the match. Some of the things that I noticed, some of the things that are kind of important tactically, and in a sense of how United want to play moving forward. I will as well post a full video on maybe with the podcasts as well as some videos through the week on quite a fair bit of the situation on different transfer fronts, different players, things like that, as definitely have a little bit of news to share there as well. But in terms of the match itself, overall there was a lot of positives to take from the first half prior to Rasmus Hojlund getting injured. United actually played really well up till that point in time, and were very dominant. So there's a few things that they were doing that I thought were worth mentioning. Number one, overlaps. One of the things that I have heard and that I could see as well in the game that I paid a lot of attention to is that they were very specifically instructed to work on a lot of particular patterns in training, but the individual positions doing very individual things. So a little bit more positional play than we've seen in the past with United potentially. It was the same in the warm-ups. They were very much separating into groups where the center backs were doing exactly this. And they do that all the time, but it seemed just a little bit more specific about what they were doing. But specifically overlaps from the fullbacks was something that was apparently a major focus in a lot of training recently. And it's something that was really, really obvious in the game itself when you were looking off ball. Like there was a real effort to do it from Wan-Bissaka, from Amas, especially in the first half when United were getting a bit of possession. Wan-Bissaka actually managed to put in a pretty decent low cross to Hojlund, and if you kind of watch that moment, he was out in front of the whole team. You never see that with Wan-Bissaka. Like he was ready when the ball was on the left, he was ready on the right to get up there and get forward. And it's something that that seems to be a clear focus. It makes a lot of sense. It's we've talked before about how there was certainly a plan in place from a stylistic and a play perspective in order to get the most out of a lot of the players that we have. Well, players like Rashford really thrive off of fullbacks. Players like Garnacho would do much better with fullbacks. There was times towards the end of last season when Dalot was doing a lot more overlapping, and it worked. It worked quite well. And so, some of that is tied to when you look at like the potential interest in Mazraoui coming in to replace Wan-Bissaka, and I'll talk about that in a minute. He is a player who can definitely fulfill that role quite strongly. And so, that is as I understand it, definitely a major focus, a major thing that United want to get done is these overlapping fullbacks, major tactical focus that they're really doing that. Not just inverting, but actually making those overlapping runs. There was also a moment in the first half, Rashford with Harry Amas, when Amas was getting by, doing those little interplays that you'd see Rashford do with Luke Shaw. It definitely improved, and they actually got a pretty good move and attack out of it. So that's something that'll make a big difference as well. Rashford and Hojlund with Ahmad on the other side, and this other point about the interest in the front three dynamics. With Ahmad on the other side instead of Garnacho, and again, this is not a comment on Garnacho, it's a comment on the style, where Ahmad comes a lot deeper, comes in to kind of build up and work the play. Then Hojlund drifted to the left when Rashford dropped in. The first time ball over the top that Hojlund chased down and then scored. There was good interplay there, and you could see them there's definitely a partnership that's potentially forming where you could see a lot more of that, and that seems to be something that they want to work on, and that's an interesting dynamic because Rashford and Hojlund or Garnacho and Hojlund, with an Ahmad is a good partnership. A Sancho with a Hojlund and a Garnacho, or Hojlund and a Rashford could be a good partnership. There's a lot of permutations that could work, or Rashford and Hojlund with Xerxes. There's a lot that could work when you have more like one of the forwards being in a bit of a different role. And I think that we saw a lot of that working. The press was very good. It was very bright. In the first half again, especially, the fullbacks were strongly backing up the press. They were actually following up on it. Wan-Bissaka, as I said, was way up there, as was Harry Amas. There was a lot of moments where this led to players kind of running through a bit and needing to be stopped by Harry Maguire in a high line, where Maguire was having to step up, and that line was really high. I posted some pictures. I'll probably do another full video with some of the content that I have from this trip, but that includes that. But the line was really high. I mean, it was all the way up there. Most of the time we were in possession. It was past the halfway in the first half, and when we were out of possession, there was times it was like the gaps were small. Like, I don't know where I would put it, but say they were 10 yards away from the halfway line. The other team, Arsenal, they would still be all the way up practically at center circle still. Like, and so the team was compact. And it was better in that way defensively, winning the ball higher, winning the ball better. Where they still struggled a lot is once Arsenal got deep, they were, with those overloads on the fullbacks, they were killing them. The overloads on Wan-Bissaka, getting through the lines for easy cutbacks and crosses, absolutely killing us with it. It's still something we just don't defend well. I don't know what the solution is. I don't know where we're losing the runners, but losing easy runners at the back post and such seems to be still a major problem. And getting those kind of free cutbacks, we could clear crosses, we could clear transitions, we can do all of that. But those little overlaps at the back, little overlaps and overloads on the fullbacks definitely was causing a lot of trouble. One of the other things that I definitely noticed as well was Andre Onana was stepping way up, constantly coming to sweep, not just in possession, but out of possession when the ball was coming in. He was first instinct, and this was definitely instructional. If you could look down and see, to just get out there fast, get out there, clear the ball, knock it away, do something with it, get rid of it. And so, that is also something that I think is definitely worth mentioning. In accordance with this high line, you want to see him stepping up and clearing. And it helps because when the line was broken a little and there might be runners coming in behind, he's stepping up and clearing the ball and getting it out of there. And that is a huge, huge safety net in having a high line, and I thought Onana did exceptionally well in that aspect. One of the other things, I was talking about the kind of positional play, the overlaps, the specific training on different things for specific players. And one of the things that was really obvious in this preseason game is that there was a very particular plan to play players in a position and keep them there, and that was the position that they're going to play. And that's what they're going to focus on. And United were very strict with that. When Hojlund got injured, they made a change that didn't affect the way that they wanted to set up in the second half to see certain players in certain positions. And I think there's a lot of implication of nailing down who's playing where and sticking with it, so there's not chaos. So there's a lot more of a planned, way of doing things moving forward. So that was good. That was good as well. And I think it's just a little more little things, but you do see in this preseason a lot of indications of probably how we want to play. Like I said, maybe an adjustment to the front line that doesn't have necessarily three runners all the time, how that works, and it seems to be positive. The high line, the overlapping fullbacks, the smaller, more compact spaces between the front and the back line. A lot of good things that you want to see as adjustments. Even though it wasn't a great game after Hojlund came off, it kind of fizzled out a little bit for United, which is certainly an issue, falling apart when missing one single personnel. But That's why we have Xerxes. That's why we have Bruno, Kabi, Lissandro, all those, Luke Shaw, all Garnacho as well. All of those players were missing, and that would have made a huge difference to the depth of the team if they were in there. So that made a bigger difference there. That helped. Certainly, I think these changes will make us better and give up less chances. No doubt about that. I think we had more shots than Arsenal. It's like 8-5, something like that. I could be wrong. But that was what it was on the sheet that I checked. Antony, that would, onto some sort of concerning things. I don't know what to say. There's nothing new about him. Does the same thing. Cut inside and shoot. Was really poor for me. It was almost standout poor. Sancho, I thought his effort out of possession was very good. He had some really good moments. But not all good moments. But when he would lose the ball, he would work out of possession. Now, the thing that I still get concerned with Sancho, and I did think he did pretty well in a couple of instances. There were some good flashes of play, some good play through the lines. When he was on the left and he was against a very young fullback for Arsenal, he just struggled to beat him. And, I feel like he has to somehow get that back in his game if he's going to be back. For sure. Now, on Sancho, he definitely could still go. I just give that indication. He definitely could still go. I don't think it's all amazing between him and Ten Hag and everything. I think that right now they're working together. As my understanding is they're working together to progress, to have him back on the pitch for the good of him, for the good of the team, for the good of everything. But he could definitely still go. Wan-Bissaka, I think, is getting closer to leaving now, for sure. Very much so. That, my understanding, is definitely that he is probably the closest player to leaving at the moment, and the club are certainly planning with that in mind right now. And I think Mazraoui is definitely a very genuine link to that. Some of the other things that were positive, it was much more relaxed. The kind of atmosphere overall was more relaxed. The tour itself is more relaxed. There's a lot more positives to it. The players prefer and are happier with it. The coaching staff are happier with it, where they're staying in this base in Los Angeles. It's a little less strict in certain ways. The players have been able to go out and about in the evenings after training in their area, to go to shops and to food and the hotel and things like that. So I think it's been a better atmosphere for them, where there's discipline, but it's not like this you can't go enjoy yourself at all type of thing. Mason Mount, I thought, was really good. I thought Mason Mount was excellent. I thought Mason Mount had it as one of his brightest games, and there's a player in there, and there are no plans to sell Mason Mount. But I think there's a player in there, and if we can figure out how to use him, then that would be good. Casemiro had some hit or miss moments, and at this point I think it's quite likely that he's not going anywhere. That also is my understanding, that at the moment the focus would be on how to get Casemiro up and running at the highest level again, or to bounce back to the kind of form he was at before. And there's a view that maybe that can happen, and in the right setup where it's less of him by itself and more in a double pivot type of thing, that's more possible. I will say I didn't notice as much fragility in the midfield. There were some good passes from him, some good play. The biggest issue, I think, which ideally is solvable, is that he's got to stop going to ground so easily. And I think that would help a lot. They've taken a lot of precautions on injuries, but somehow we managed to pick up 2. Asking Rasmus Hojlund as he walked down the tunnel, I watched him mouth about his hamstring when he went down originally. Apparently that is correct. His hamstring is injured. And in the tunnel, he was walking pretty good. You never know with these types of things, but he was walking pretty good. When asked about it, he wasn't in like down spirits, but he said, basically, we'll see. Kind of like, we'll see. Euros is more concerning. He wasn't able to make it through walking down a tunnel. We didn't see him. He's young, so hopefully it's not that serious, but it looked pretty bad. He was really ginger in terms of walking as he left the pitch. It was not great. So that was all a little bit concerning. With regards to Collier, I thought he had a decent game. I thought, again, he gets about pretty well, but I wouldn't say stand out. And I don't think that United see him as, again, based on my understanding of the situation, he's not seen as like Kabi or the next huge breakthrough or something like that, but a player they want to see if he can bring something to the table. And that's part of the reason he's playing right now, to see that happens. But overall, there's a lot more positivity. We're missing a lot of good players, in Xerxes, who could have come right in for Rasmus. And we have that option for a reason. We're not going to be without a striker if there is an injury. Garnacho, Ahmad is doing well. Rashford, I thought, was really bright. So with Rashford, Ahmad, Xerxes, Garnacho, even if Hojlund has a little injury, we've still got a lot of options. Bruno and Kabi is 2/3 of a great midfield. Mason Mount is looking good. Shaw, Lissandra will help if there's an injury to Euro, but we do very much need a center back. And the departure of Victor Lindelof and a new center back coming in are definitely at the forefront of thinking. United want to make more signings. There's no doubt about that. But overall, more positive attitude, more positive vibes in general. A lot more support being provided for the team, for the coach, for everything. And I think it'll make a very big difference overall. It's hard to measure this in preseason. I think you can't really judge how well we play, but you can see how we want to play. And I see progress there. What I still see missing for the most part is a bit more controlled patterns in the final third instead of rushing it. That could potentially, of course, be solved with the players coming in because we have a lot of attacking options coming in as well as Luke Shaw, and there is a focus on those overlapping fullbacks. But maybe slowing it down sometimes so that we're not so open. And then on the other side, defending against overlapping fullbacks. The thing we need to do better at offensively is the same thing that is our weakness defensively. So anyway, it was a real interesting experience. It was a good time. I wish I'd been able to do a bit more. My flight was delayed and it was a pain in the ass, the whole thing, frankly. But made it, got to do this, watch the game, interact, meet some people, talk about some things, and I will certainly have more to share. But overall, a really good experience, and I think United are putting on a really good tour. And I think I think there's a lot of positives to take away and not worry so much about the result. What we're trying to do is an improvement. And the people who are running the show now are not naive about where we're at, and they're not naive about where we want to be, and they want to see results. So yeah, that's what I've got. Thank you all for watching. I hope if you got a chance to watch it, you enjoyed the game, and if you haven't, if you want to catch up, obviously on MUTV or any of that, then definitely catch up. Thank you for watching this video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, leave me your thoughts below on everything that I've shared here, what you see, and I will see you in the next video. Enjoy the rest of your day or night or whenever. This will probably be posted when I'm finished recording, which will be very early in the UK. So enjoy your Sunday. See you later.